Hello everyone, welcome back to iFarouq Tech channel. This is the 23rd episode in the series Learn CSS from Scratch. In last tutorial we talked about CSS margin collapse, where we know how margin collapse works, what makes it works and what makes it not to. If you missed that, you can check the content in channel's videos or the link in the description down below. And today we are jumping to CSS padding, where we are going to know what it is, how it's working and how to use or apply it in our daily projects. Let's get started. CSS padding. The CSS padding properties are used to generate space around the element's content inside of any defined borders. With CSS, you have full control over the padding. There are properties for setting the padding for each side of an element that are right, top, bottom, and left. Padding has the same syntax and properties as margin does. The only difference between the two is they are working in opposite way or opposite manner. Margin generates space outside of any defined borders, while padding generates space inside of any defined borders. As margin has individual sides, padding also has individual sides. Padding has individual properties for specifying each side of an element, just as margin. That's a padding top, padding right, padding bottom, and padding left. All of the padding properties can have the following values that are length, percentage sign, and inherit. Note: negative values are not allowed in padding. In previous tutorial, you know that we can use negative values in our margin, while padding doesn't accept that. So let's take our first example here to see how padding actually works. And that's it. So you can save our work here and see how it's going to be. Open our browser. Here we are. You can see here our top padding has 50 pixels, same as our bottom padding has the same distance of 50 pixels. Then our right padding has 30 pixels, while our left padding has 80 pixels. So this is how actually padding works. So you see, padding has generated a space inside this defined border, while margin generates space outside of any defined borders, like between these elements of header 2 and this border. That's how margin generates space. So our next example here is padding shorthand property. As you all know that margin has shorthand property the same as padding. To shorten the code, it is possible to specify all the padding properties in one property, that's in one single line. The padding property is a shorthand property for the following individual padding properties. That's a padding top, padding right, padding bottom, and padding left. It works similar with the margin shorthand property works. So let's work it here and see. Let's save our work and refresh our browser. That's it. These are the 4 examples of shorthand property values. The first one here you can see has none value, so it has no any padding, no bottom padding, no left padding, no top padding, and no left padding. It's just a plain element of div. While the second one, it has 4 properties of shorthand values. You can see it here. The top padding has 25 pixels, bottom padding has 75 pixels, right padding has 50 pixels, and left padding has 100 pixels. And the third example here is a shorthand property with 3 values. The shorthand properties of 3 values, you can see the top padding has 25 pixels as well, bottom padding has 75 pixels, while left and right sharing the same size of pixels, which is 50 pixels. That's how shorthand property with 3 values work. And the fourth example here is shorthand property with 2 values. If you have shorthand property with 2 values, the first value, which is 25 pixels, it will be taken by top padding and bottom padding, while 50 pixels will be taken by left and right padding. And the last example here is one value of shorthand property. One value of shorthand property, as you all know in previous tutorial, both sides will take the same size of padding value, which is 25 pixels. So you can see it here. This div element has top padding, right padding, bottom padding, and a left padding of 25 pixels. Here we have typing error. So that's how shorthand property of padding actually works. Our next example here is padding an element width. The CSS width property specifies the width of the element's content area. The content area is the portion inside the padding, border, and margin of an element. That's the box model. So if an element has a specified width, the padding added to that particular element will be added to the total width of the element. This is often an undesirable result. So let's take first example in these points and see how it's actually working. That's it. You can save your work and run it again and see how it's going to be. So you can see the two examples and you can notice the difference between the two. The second example here said the width of this div is 350 pixels, even though it is defined as 300 pixels in the CSS. While the first example said this div is 300 pixels wide. So why does this has 300 pixels wide and this one also has 300 pixels wide, but this one is wider than the first example? That's what the previous point said. If an element has a specified width, the padding added to that particular element will be added to the total width of the element. This is often an undesirable result. So as you can see here, the result we have here is undesirable because it's supposed to be in the same line and the same width. So how can we fix that? To keep the width at 300 pixels, no matter the amount of padding, you can use the box sizing property that's in our CSS. This causes the element to maintain its actual width, that's 300 pixels of box element. If you increase the padding, the available content space will decrease. I will show you what I mean with this. If you increase the padding, the available content space will decrease. Let's take the example and see how it's going to be. So all we need to do here is to add just one single line here saying that box sizing border box. So once you did this, refresh your page, your work will be the way you want it to be. You see, this is how the example is supposed to be. So what I wanted to add here is, here if you take a look, we have a distance or space between the border and element of 25 pixels. So if I increase my padding here from 25 pixels maybe to 50 pixels, these elements will skew and a space will decrease, so that the space of padding will increase. 50 pixels. refresh my page, you see the content space is decreased while the padding space increased. So that's how actually the padding works, and that's all for today. But before you round up, I would like to leave you with a pure example to brush up your skills on a padding. The exercise is, I want you to write a simple code that will set a top padding, right padding, bottom padding, and left padding individually. Each of these 4 sides should have its own style in CSS. Please try to work it out as possible as you can before we meet in our next tutorial. That's all for today's tutorial. In our next tutorial, we are going to talk about CSS height and width. I hope you enjoy my today's tutorial and find it useful. If that's so, why don't you give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share it to your friends. And if this is your first time to visit my channel and haven't subscribed yet, make sure you click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for you to be notified for every upcoming tutorial. Thanks for watching, goodbye and take care.